Varsha Tak welcomes you all to the video tutorial series of the operating system. Let's start our lecture today. So at the end of this video, you will be able to learn about what is pipe, what is message passing and what is signal. Okay, so first of all, let's start with the pipe. So before starting, what is pipe in operating system? Let's have the basic example of this pipe in real life. So just take the example of the water pipe. So what is the concept of that water pipe? You will pass the water from the one end, and at the other end, other person will able to receive that water. Okay, so there are two ends of the pipe. From one end you are passing the water, and from the other end you are getting the water. Okay, so this is what concept of pipe. So similar concept is related to the pipe in the operating system. Okay, pipe is nothing but one of the system called in the operating system. Okay, so what is pipe? Pipe is a communication between two or more related or interrelated process, usually between parent and child process. So it may be the scenario like that parent process will write and child process will receive that information. And when child process want to pass the information to the parent, that also is possible. For that, a different pipe is required. So here you can see this is the one pipe that is drawn over here. So here in this pipe, here you can see two endpoint is given to you. One is the right and another is a read. So from the right end, you are able to write the information in the pipe, and from the read end, you are able to get the informations from the pipe. Okay, so pipe is a one of the shared space where the user can write something, where the process can write something, and from where other process can receive that particular data. Okay, so communication is achieved by one process write into the pipe and other process will read from the pipe. Okay, it performs the one-way communication. As in water pipe, there is only one-way communication. Is it possible that from the other end also the user is passing the water, and from this side the another user will get that water? That is not possible. Okay, so this is the one-way communications. Okay, so only means that we can use the pipe such that one process write into the pipe and other process reads from the pipe. So the parent process will writing something and child process will receive that particular data. So same way for the child to parent, we require the another pipe where the child process will write and parent process will receive that information. It opens a pipe which is an area of memory that is treated as a virtual file. So pipe is nothing but what? A shared memory area, that is one of the virtual file where the process is writing something and another process will receiving something. So it is a bounded buffer, means we can send only limited data through pipe. We cannot write more and more data to the pipe. There is a limitations on it. And again, when we are reading the data, there is a limitations on it. Okay, exist by two associated file descriptor. Okay, so that is FD0 and FD1. Now what is the meaning of this FD0 and FD1? FD0, that means for reading from the pipe. So when the process want to read from the file, it will use this FD0 descriptor. That is a file descriptor FD0. And when the process want to write something in the file, something in the pipe, so at that time it will use this FD1, that is a file descriptor 1 for writing purpose. Okay, so this two descriptor is associated with the pipe. 0 that means reading and 1 that means the writing. Got it? So here you can see this is the process where FD1, that means it is writing something in a pipe buffer, and FD0, that means another process is receiving that particular data. Now here, what is the syntax of the pipe? So here you can see we have to include this directory. Then how you are able to create the pipe? So integer pipe descriptor and bracket 2. So that means we are creating the two array, that is one for reading and one for writing. Okay, so here pipe is what? system call. Pipe is one type of data type, using that you can create the pipe. The system call would create a pipe for one-way communications. That means from one user to another user, one user will writing and another user will reading that particular data. For example, it creates two descriptors. First one is connected to the read from the pipe and another is connected to the write of the pipe. Descriptor, pipe descriptor 0, as we have declared pipe descriptor 2, so that's why it creates the array of 2. So pipe descriptor 0 is for reading and pipe descriptor 1 for the writing. Whatever is written into the pipe descriptor 1 can be read from the pipe descriptor 0. So this call would return 0 on the success and -1 in the case of failure. So if it will return -1, that means there is something missing or something error in the while we are creating the pipe. Okay, so here pipe behaves like a FIFO, that is first in first out, and pipe behaves like a queue data structure. Okay, so it will use this queue data structure, first in first out. Size of the read and write don't have to match here. Why? Because the write can the file descriptor write can write the 512 bytes at the same time, but the read descriptor can only read 1 byte at a time. So there is a much more difference between reading and writing. So with this with the speed the writer is writing, with the same speed reader cannot read the data. So that is the difference in reader and writer when we are using this pipe mechanism. Okay, which are the limitations of the pipe? So pipes are the oldest version of the IPC. IPC, that means we are discussing about the inter-process communications that we will see in detail in the next unit. Okay, so here it have the two limitations, which are data flows only in one direction. Okay, only in one direction data can be flowed. Some systems now provided the full duplex pipes. Full duplex pipes, that means using that one pipe you can use the reading and writing from the both the sides. Okay, Unix domain sockets are the full duplex. Pipes can be used only between the processes that have the common ancestor. Okay, so whatever the process have the common ancestor, in that particular process we can use this pipe mechanism. FIFO and Unix domain sockets can be established between the process, not in the parent-child directory. Generally, the pipe is like the parent and child directory. That means parent is writing and child is receiving, and vice versa. If the child want to write, that will write in another pipe, and child is writing and parent is receiving. Okay, when parent and child sharing the pipe, so what will happen? Okay, so when we use the fork in any processes, file descriptor remain open across the child processes and also parent process. So here you can see this is the parent-child scenario, how the data will be received by the parent and child. So here parent process is there and here child process is there. Parent process and child process both have the descriptor, that is F0 and F1. F1 for writing purpose and F0 for the reading purpose. So here you can see here this is the pipe, this is the pipe. So here in this pipe the child process can write also and parent process can read. Same way parent process can write and child process can read. So this is the scenario of the parent and child when they are sharing the pipe. Now next is what the message passing. Next concept is the message passing. The most popular form of the inter-process communication that involves the message passing. So process communicates with each other by exchanging the message. So whenever the process want to communicate with the other processes, at that time the process will send the message to that particular process. A process may send the information to the port from which another process may receive the information. The sending and receiving can be on the same or different computers connected via a communication medium. It may be the distributed communications, it may be the communications in the same network. So that can happen when we are using this message passing communication. Okay, one reason for the popularity of the message passing is the ability to support the client-server interactions. Okay, this is what the main biggest example of the message passing. As you are surfing something on the internet, that means, for example, you have started the Google and you are typing something that suppose you want to know about what is operating system. You will type the what is operating system and you just press the enter. What will happen? That what is operating system, that is your request to whom? To the server. So that request will be passed by the web browser to the web server, and it will give the numbers of informations about the what is operating system. So that is what one of the example of the message passing. That means you are passing the message and you are receiving the information. The message is passed and you are getting the information. So that is what the message passing. The services are involved in the response to message from client and results are returned in the message to the client. So that means what? You are getting the numbers of result in your browser, that what is operating system, for example, Java T-Point, what is operating system in tutorialspoint.com. So numbers of results that is available. Okay, so thus a process may act as a web search server by accepting the message that asks it to search the web for the particular string that you have defined. Message passing models allows the multiple processes to read and write the data to the message queue without being connected to each other. Okay, so this model allows the multiple processes to read and write data, and it is not necessary that every time that processes should be connected to each other when they are communicating. Messages are stored on the queue until the recipient retrieves them. Okay, so there is a queue that should be maintained when the recipient, when the sender is sending the messages. Message queues are quite useful for the inter-process communication and are used by the most operating systems. And here you can see this is the message passing model. Here process 1 is passing, maybe it may be possible that process 1 is passing the data and process 2 is receiving the data from the message queue. Okay, so this is what the message queue. Here process 1 is passing the data M1, M2, Mn, and process 2 is receiving the data. So this is what one process is passing the data and another process is receiving the data. Okay, so this is the message passing model. In this diagram, both the process P1 and P2 can access the message queue and store and retrieve the data from the message queue. Now, which are the message passing primitives? So there are two primitives. As you know that sending and receiving is that. To send and receive is the primitive. So using this primitive, you can send the information, and using this primitive, you can receive the information. So first primitive is a send. It is used to send the message, that means send destinations and ampersand message. So that is the syntax for the sending the message. So in this syntax, destination is the process to which the sender want to send the message, and message is what the sender want to send. Same way for the receive. So it is used for the receiving the message, receive, source, and person message. So this in this syntax, source is what who is replying, and end person message, that means the sender, end person message, that means what the message that that is going to be received. So in this syntax, the process that has sent the message, and the message is what the sender has sent. Now, what are the advantages of the message passing model? So first, the message passing model is much easier and implementing than the shared memory model. And second advantage is what? It easier to build the parallel hardware using the message passing model, as it is a quite tolerant of the higher communication latencies. Okay, so it is easy to and it is very easy to develop rather than the shared memory model. When we are developing the shared memory model, there are many more consequences is that. Now, what are the disadvantages of the message passing model? The message passing model has the slower communications than the shared memory model. In just shared memory model, what you have to do, you have to write the data, and from that particular place, the process will read the data. But in message passing, you have to pass that information in the network, and there are many issues maybe arise when we are sending the data in the network. Maybe the message is lost. Maybe the message received in incorrect order, maybe the acknowledgement is lost. So there are so many issues that is related with the message passing. Now next is a signal. So what is signal? signals are the software interrupts that sent to a program to indicate that the important event has occurred. So the events can vary from the user request to the illegal memory access errors. So some signals such as the interrupt signals indicate that a user has asked the program to do something that is not in the usual flow of control. So that is what this signal. That means when the program is there in the execution, we are stopping that particular program and we want that the process will do this work. So that is what this signal. We are passing another information to the process, so process will stop the execution, whatever the execution that process is performing. So it will stop that execution and it will performing the task that we have assigned. So newly assigned task will be first executed and then it will continue with the execution. Signals to be assured that are the various notifications sent to the process in order to notify if the various important event is there. So by their nature, they interrupt whatever the process is doing at that minute and force it to handle that immediately. Okay, so each signal has an integer number that represents 1, 2, 3, etc. As well as the symbolic name is also there for the signals that is usually defined in the file. That is USR include all signal.h, or one of the file included by the directly or indirectly, that is HUP, that is a hang up, INT, and so on. So signals have the numericals number or signals have the symbolic name also. And you can use the command kill L to see the list of the signals supported by the system. Okay, so whenever you will type this in command prompt, you are able to know which are the signals that is supported by the system. Each signals may have the signal handler, which is the functions that gets the call when the process receives the signal. So each and every signal have the process handler, signal handler that can handle that particular signal when it comes. The function is called as asynchronous mode. That means that nowhere your program you have the code that calls the function directly. Instead, when the signal is sent to the process, the operating system stops the executions of the process and forces it call to signal handler functions that do this work immediately and stop the executions whatever you are doing. When that signals handler function returns, the process continues the executions from wherever it happened to be before and signal was received as if this interruptions never occurred. So it will start from this newer occurred interrupt, and when it will complete this signals informations, after that it will continue the executions whatever the process is doing. Okay, and these are the numbers of signals that is available. These are some of the examples. That is, for example, sign up, that is what hang up detected, or controlling the terminal or the date of the controlling process. So that signal number is what? 1. Then SIG-INT, that is issued if the user sends an interrupt signal, that is like the control C. Then SIG quit, that means 3, it is issued if the user sends the quit signal, that is like the control D. So these are the numbers of signals that we can use. Now sending the signal using the keyboard. Using the keyboard also you can send the signal. So these are the most commonly used signals. We have just taken the 2 examples. One is a control C and control Z. Now what is the meaning of this control C? So pressing this key causes the system to send the INT signal, that is SIG-INT, to the running process. So by default the signals causes the process to immediately terminate. So it will terminate the process when you will press the control C, or you can use the SIG-INT command to do the same thing. Then next is a control Z. When you will press the control Z, so pressing this key causes the system to send the TSTP signal. So that means SIG-TSTP to the running process. So by default the signals causes the process to suspend the executions. So when you want to suspend the process, you have to press the control Z, and when you want to terminate the process, it will happen with the control C. So this is the command, this is the signals we can send using the keyboard. Now how to send the signal using the command line. So here you can see we have taken the example of the kill command. So here the syntax of the kill command is what? $kill dash signal PID. Now what is the meaning of this? Here signal is what? The signal number or the signal name. Okay, so we are sending that particular signal to the PID. So that is the process, to that particular process ID we are sending the signal. So here you can see this is the example how we are able to write this. So $kill dash 1 and then we have written the process ID 1001. So what is the meaning of this? This command will execute and it will send the HUP or hang up signal to the program that is running with the process ID 1001. Okay, so it will send the hang up informations, that means suspect. Now here next is what? To send a kill command. So if you want to kill the process, you have to write like this: $kill $kill dash 9 1001. So 9 is the signal for the terminating the process. So when you are sending this command, it will kill the process, that is 1001. So in this video, we have learned that what is pipe, what is message passing, and what is signal. Okay, in message passing, the program is that the producer-consumer problem using the message passing, that we will see in the unit number 4. Okay, so we are ending the unit number 3 today. The topic related to this unit also we will see in the unit number 4. So thank you for watching. We will meet in the next lecture. Thank you.